Hello, welcome to Cool Schools on WSYR Plus. I'm Bob Driscoll. This is the show where we talk about anything happening in schools across central New York. Today we're joined by Weedsport Superintendent Greg Stone. Greg, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
We're here today to talk about your 5-year plan. We'll get into that in detail, but first tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I grew up locally, graduate of West Genesee High School. Following that, I got my first teaching position actually in the North Syracuse Central School District where I taught for 11 years. I was an instrumental music teacher. I worked with students from grades 3 through 9 during that time. I did a little stint with kindergarten and second, but most of that time was really 3rd through 9th grade. Following my teaching position there, I was actually hired as a school principal. So I was the principal of Smith Road Elementary School for 6 years. Following that, I was promoted to the Director of Elementary Education and ELA, again at North Syracuse Central School District, and I held that position for almost 5 years. And most recently, I was named as the Superintendent of Schools at Weedsport, and I'm closing in on finishing up my 2nd year this December.
A lot to unpack here with the 5-year plan, so we'll get into it in more detail. But in summary, what is it, just so people know what we're talking about?
Really, the 5-year strategic plan for us is really just, it was an opportunity for us to really get down to what are our core values at Weedsport. It was about bringing the community together, our staff, our students, our teachers, our parents, community, to really get down to what is it that is strong about Weedsport, where do we see ourselves in the future, what are our goals for the future, and it provides us a pathway forward so we know what it is that we're working on, how are we going to measure it, how are we going to ensure that we continually make progress, and how are we going to ensure that there's transparency for our whole community.
Now, reading through the plan, there is a lot that went into it, a lot of thought. What was the inspiration behind this?
For me, coming into a new organization and having done strategic planning in my previous district, I very quickly recognized that although there had been an incredible amount of very good work in the Weedsport Central School District, really I had nothing to anchor to as a new superintendent to know what is it that we value, where are we going as an organization, what are we trying to accomplish. And so, one of the things I worry about as a leader is I don't want to see us going into multiple different directions. I want to make sure that we're really focused on what are we trying to achieve. Let's really narrow that focus down and make sure we're putting our resources, energy, time, commitment, everything else around those areas so we can actually make gains. And so for me, kicking off that strategic planning process was a way to do that in a transparent way and really to get our organization really streamlined to say where are we trying to get to over the next 5 years. And like I said, it involved everyone from the Community Board of Education. Really happy with the results, and it's starting to already take shape in the district.
Now, you kind of started this right when you took over as superintendent, right? Was this something that was one of your first things you wanted to do?
Yeah, it was right at the very top. I knew coming in and going through the interview process that there had been excellent leadership in the past, but that leadership had been in place for a very long time. And so there was some fear of that unknown of what's coming next. And so this process for me, I knew coming in that if I could actively engage everyone, it was a great way for me to build some relationships, get to know people within the district, learn the history of the school district. And so we did kick that off. I would say I started in January, almost 2 years ago, and we kicked off the strategic planning process really that spring, and it went on for about 6 months, 8 months of intensive work with a really great group of people.
You had a lot of people involved in it. I know you mentioned some of the people that were involved in drafting this plan. Can you tell us the different people that you talked to come up with this plan and what their roles were?
Absolutely. We spent a lot of time, and if you go online, you can see all the names of the people. I want to give some kudos to everyone that was involved. They donated a lot of time volunteering their hours in after school, summer, and everything else. As we were trying to plan out who should be on this group, we really wanted to make sure we got a wide cross-section of the entire school district. So we had students on there, we had staff members, we had community members, parents, administrators. We even got down to the nitty-gritty of making sure that as we were looking at teachers as an example, we wanted to make sure that we were focusing on academics. So we had, elementary through high school on there. We had special area teachers. We wanted to make sure we had a really wide range of representing everyone. We had special ed teachers on there, really making sure that we had good voices across that table in order for us to have good dialogue and conversations that led to a really strong plan.
Now, working in news, we kind of consider ourselves a team out there where we all have different opinions. We pull it together and come up with the best thing. That's kind of seems like what you did here. How important is it to get such a variety of opinions from different people to draft the plan?
I think that's key to this. And I can tell you we had a lot of really great conversations. with that group, and definitely there were differing opinions. And we really used a fist to five protocol, meaning that when we got to a topic where we couldn't agree on something, we would do what's called fist to five, and we'd say to the group, okay, give us a fist to five on whatever the topic might be. And so giving a fist meant I have zero support for this. I absolutely cannot live with whatever it is that we're discussing. A five means I am good to go. I love it. I can sell it to everybody, and then anything in between. And so we would gauge that. And so if we're seeing mostly 3 to 5s, we know, all right, we're on the right track. We've got consensus. We're ready to kind of move on. If we're not seeing that, then we kind of paused, pulled back, and had more dialogue. We might have broken up into small groups, but really it was about getting everyone together. And in the end, I can tell you that that entire group was very supportive of every single one of these. We wordsmithed just about every single thing in here. You couldn't even imagine the amount of time we spent on each of those words. But I think we've got a really solid plan that was supported by all, and it was through a consensus model.
I gotta tell you, I might steal your fist of five idea in our morning meeting tomorrow. This is
There
like
you
a
go.
great idea and a good way to get different opinions
Yeah.
and have people do it in a relaxed way where
Yep.
they're, can share their
Absolutely.
opinion. What would you say the main goals of the plan are?
We have 4 strategic areas that we're really focusing on. So we have a district-wide goal of becoming a professional learning community. Really what that means is it's a cultural shift for any school district, and many school districts across the country try to follow this model. And what it really truly gets down to is creating a system and a culture where every single student is accounted for. We have what's called collective responsibility, meaning that every single student in our school, we are all collectively responsible for a pre-K student through 12th grade. We are all responsible, not just the homeroom teacher, not just the 3rd grade teacher. We're all responsible for all. So all means all in this model. The professional learning community model also really is about professional learning. It's about supporting each other as colleagues, reading research together, challenging each other on ideas, and creating an environment that's a trusting environment, but also supports one another in all learning. And so that's the heart of a lot of this work, is becoming a professional learning community. From there, we have 2 student achievement goals. Really, those are focused on the core of the committee even said, what are we here for? We're here really at the core of this is about academic achievement, ensuring our students are successful in all areas, including social emotional. And so we have one component of that is really focused on the academic pieces of state testing, Regents exams, universal screening measures, making sure that every single year we should be seeing continual progress in those. And if we don't see progress, what are we going to do differently? We want to ensure we're always moving forward and doing better for our students. The other piece is one of the things I noticed as a new superintendent coming in a small school district, it's very hard to have a wide array of course offerings for our students. And so one of the goals of this plan is really to expand our course offerings at all levels, but specifically to the middle school and high school, but not just throwing, courses at kids. We want to find out what exactly are our kids interested in and build our courses around that. And so we have to be careful in how we do that in a small district. We have very limited resources. So if we're going to be adding something, that means that something else is going to have to trim back a little bit. But when we base it on the interest of our students, we're starting already to see an increase in enrollment in different courses, and so we monitor that over time, and we really hope to, over the next 5 years, really expand out to what is a focus area for all of our students. Another component of the plan is creating a multi-tiered systems of support, and really that is just a framework for us to identify if a student is struggling academically, behaviorally, or social emotionally. If they are struggling in any manner, we need to identify it very quickly, and then we need to make sure we have a plan in place to address it so that our staff have the resources they need, that our students can get those resources immediately, and we can get them back on track and ultimately walking across that stage in graduation. And then finally, we have 2 facilities and operations goals. At the heart of a good strategic plan, you have to stay focused on your facilities. So we're really going to be focusing on modernizing and updating our security and safety protocols and the building itself, as well as moving forward with renovation upgrades to ensure our learning environments are modern and welcoming to students, along with an IT goal of ensuring that our technology is continually updated to meet the needs of not only our current students, but in the future, so that when they walk across that stage, wherever they go after that, they have the tools they need to succeed in wherever they go.
There's the four main points there. I want to dig into some of these. Let's start with the student achievement. How will progress be measured going forward throughout the 5-year plan?
Yeah, so great question. A lot of that's going to be measured off of state assessments. We've got our local grades 3 through 8 assessments. We have our Regents exams. We have our local assessments that we've developed. And we also have what are called universal screening measures, and those are ones that students take across the nation. And so we know that looking at only just one component doesn't give you the clear picture. So we look at a lot of those components. And so each year we're going to be setting goals around each of those areas, and we're going to measure them and report on them annually. So hopefully you're going to see, let's say, for example, 50% of our students are proficient in, I'm going to make something up here, fourth grade math. The next year, we would want to see progress there and see at least, a 2 to 3% increase there. And if we don't, then we're going to go back to say, well, what didn't work and what are we going to do differently? So it's using that data to really report on and ensure it aligns to what New York State requires of us too.
Are there going to be any noticeable changes parents or students might see over this 5-year plan, things that will jump out, or are there going to be kind of subtle things that you're kind of going to learn as you go type thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think both. A lot of it is right now in the early stages of planning, professional development, really launching a lot of this. Certainly down the road, you're going to see a lot of changes coming. I can mention a few currently. We've already expanded some of our course offerings at the high school. We're trying to be really strategic in how we do that. Again, small district, we can't just throw a new course in there. However, what we can do is reach out to neighboring school districts. And so, for example, Jordan Elbridge has physics, and we had a really hard time finding a physics teacher. They're just very difficult to find. And we don't have a lot of students in physics. So it makes a lot of sense to form a partnership there where our students can go over to Jordan Elbridge to learn in person from a live teacher. And some of their students can come back and they're actually looking at our business program for the following school year. So, those kind of collaborations, I think you're going to see a lot of. So our course offerings, you're going to see renovations coming up, capital projects. A lot of it you'll definitely be seeing over the next couple of years.
Now, students have different learning needs. How is this plan going to address things like special education or advanced learning? How does it address that?
Yeah, that is really at the heart of everything we do. So that comes back to that multi-tiered systems support goal that I mentioned. Really what that is about is for us building a system, like I mentioned earlier, where we identify if a student is struggling. But more importantly, we have interventions in place. And so what we're working on currently is we're revamping our master schedules at both the elementary and the secondary school so we can build in intervention time for every single student. And so we need to build a system where if a student is struggling in whatever that might be, academic-wise, behavior, social, emotional, we identify, we close that gap, we have resources to fill that. But also, I would say the next challenge we have is not only that, but what do we do for our students who are on grade level or above grade level? And so that intervention block will move forward to become an enhancement or an enrichment type of block so that our students who are on grade level or above are getting something that they need. So we're ensuring we're meeting our highest level learners as well as our most struggling learners and everyone in between. And so that's the work of the next 2 years to rebuild those schedules, rebuild all the resources our staff needs in order to help support students on a daily basis.
What about any kind of like special instruction, like working with the community at all, internships or working with businesses or any non-traditional out-of-classroom learning? Is there anything like that that's part of your plan?
Yep. We spend a lot of time looking at, what are some of the jobs of the future, and that gets a little scary now that we've got AI, on the horizon and the workforce is changing. So we work very closely with Kugana Dagabosis. A lot of our students attend their career and technical education program, which is absolutely fantastic. We're actually working currently to expand our work-based learning. Actually tonight, if people attend the board meeting tonight, there will be a presentation on work-based learning and how we can expose more of our students to exactly what you just said. How do we connect them up with local businesses, give them internships, give them time to experience different career paths before they make the plunge in leaving school and going into that. We want to make sure that they are exposed to it, they get to learn about what's out there and have some opportunity. So we're really working closely in all those areas.
You mentioned technology and AI. How big of an impact is technology having on current learning? Obviously with Micron coming, it's just a whole new field. Do you see technology being a big part of your plan and your education moving forward?
Yes, absolutely. We have a new board policy that's going to be adopted this school year around artificial intelligence. What we're trying to do is take a very measured approach on that. We want to ensure that our students do have access and are engaging with it and using it appropriately. Because AI is an incredibly powerful tool. But before we can get too deep into that with our students, we need to ensure our staff have the training and support that they need. And so this year, we're dedicating a lot of our professional development around AI, how you integrate that into coursework, how you integrate it into student learning. I'll share that I use AI on a daily basis multiple times across the day. And one thing I have learned as I use it is that you cannot trust everything that AI generates. It's always going to give you an answer, and it's going to sound really good, but you've got to fact check it. Many times I'm researching something, and I'll ask it to cite the articles that it's pulling data from, and then I'll go and peruse those articles to ensure that it's actually representing accurately. And so I think that's, for us as educators, really our major goal with this is to ensure our students are savvy users of technology, AI especially, that we're teaching them the tools of how to fact check things, how to engage with multiple sources. And so that's really the work over the next couple of years. And I'll tell you, every district's probably in the same boat where it's a little overwhelming. We want our students to have access, we want them to use it, but we need to make sure that we can provide the training they need to use it successfully.
Yeah, it certainly is a helpful tool, but as you said, it's help. You shouldn't rely on it 100%, but it's fascinating technology. What about extracurricular activities? Is there going to be any changes to that over the next 5 years people can notice? Any new programs or anything like that?
Yeah, I would say that's not a central part of the plan, but I will tell you we evaluate those extracurriculars every single year when it comes budget time. And I think it comes back to us not just putting forth extracurriculars or athletics or courses, academic courses, just because we've always done them. What we want to do is make sure we're putting forth courses and experiences that are meeting our kids where they're currently at and also for the future. So we've actually initiated a new program over the past 18 months where all of our students go onto this educational platform, and it's really neat. What it does is it helps students currently we're using it middle school through high school. And you learn about different career paths, and it's a lot of questions. There's games in there, but ultimately what it does is it helps students determine where their interests are. And it goes well beyond that. So not only does it help students figure out paths they might be interested in for the future, but it also gives them careers. And so, so if they're looking at the medical field, it might take them down certain pathways of things that they're interested in. It's going to talk about, what colleges or what programs you need post high school. What is the salary ranges? What colleges offer these programs? So it really gives students a much wider range of understanding where they can go in the future, not just with what they've experienced in a small town in upstate New York. And that data that we can pull from there is what's going to help us select our courses for the future to ensure we're aligning to where the student interest actually is.
And that's great, yeah, and especially at that age too, when students are trying to figure out what they want to do. I think when I was in school, I changed my mind every couple months and drove my parents crazy, but ultimately settled on this. You mentioned the multi-tiered system of supports. How important is that as part of your plan in mental health in general in schools?
Yeah, I think if you go to almost any school district now, they are doing serious work with multi-tiered systems of support. It's just a fancy way of saying that we're building a system that's going to ensure, like I mentioned, we identify when a student is struggling, and we've got the tools in order to help close that gap. So it certainly includes social emotional learning, and it includes the mental health components. We know that students these days have significantly more challenges than they did 5, 10 years ago, and certainly 20 or 30 years ago. And certainly technology plays a part of that. And so this plan, as we build our multi-tiered systems of support plan, we're actively going to be working with our school social workers, our counselors, our school psychologists to beef up that side as well, putting on an equal footing to the academics piece. Because we know if a student isn't ready to learn, they're not going to be able to learn. So we need to be focused on both.
Safety and security, obviously, too, is a thing that parents are very, very concerned about, and that's addressed in this 5-year plan as well. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's a major component of our facilities upgrades. So already in the past almost 2 years that I've been there, we've changed around a ton of our protocols. We've tightened up our building security. We've participated in a full safety audit. That safety audit is really going to drive the next 5 years of facility improvements. And so obviously we're going to knock off the most important ones first. And so it's not just the physical security of the building. That's one component. There's also the staff training, ensuring our staff have the best protocols in place. We participate with the Cayuga Sheriff's Department, who actually did trainings in our schools this past summer and the previous summer, getting them familiar with our schools. We were a part of those trainings. And so really it's about us learning best practices, having a strong relationship with law enforcement, doing our facility upgrades that are around safety and security so that our students feel safe and are safe so that they can learn. And really it's hitting that social emotional piece I mentioned earlier too.
Does the 5-year plan create any new jobs? Are you going to need more staff, anything like that with the school? And if so, like what positions?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's really going to depend on our students and what they tell us in those surveys and that data that we were talking about. So certainly staffing very well could change. And really it's about, how do we keep the resources we have. We know that budgets are tight. We know that there's challenges with all of that. And so it's not about necessarily, about expanding necessarily, but it's about how do we work with what we've got and trimming certain things back, adding other things in that students are interested in. So certainly there's likely going to be some staffing in there, but also at the same time, I reassure everyone, the staff at Weedsport is absolutely fantastic. They are hard workers. They care about kids. It is one of the best school districts I've ever had the pleasure of being in and working in. And so I can assure you that we're going to take all of those pieces very carefully, and our staff will be involved in that process as we go.
Now, in hearing you describe the plan, it sounds like you've put a big focus on kind of evolving as the 5 years go along and making changes. As you see what things work, what don't work, are you guys willing to adjust this plan over the 5 years?
Absolutely. So I've done strategic planning work in my previous school district, and a lot of what I've learned is that what you put on paper very quickly could change in the future. I mean, we know technology just gave us a huge pivot with AI, so something you wrote on the paper 2 years ago may not be relevant anymore. So this plan is intentionally written in a way that just kind of gives the big picture goals. Where the real work comes in is we've built a website where we're going to monitor each of these goals, and we're going to report out on them annually, and we're going to adjust on them. So, for example, if you were to go to the website and you drilled into, let's say, the goal around expanding course offerings, you're going to see clearly articulated what our goal is as a district. You're going to see how we're going to measure that across the next 5 years. And what you'll also see is if we're not making the progress we want, we will make adjustments as we go. So we did it intentionally using a website so we can continually update it. We continually adjust based on the pathways we need to. That way we're not locked into something that may become obsolete or isn't working. We need to be able to pivot as we need to.
Now, as this plan rolls along, how is the community best going to be informed? Is it going through the website? Are you going to alert them through emails, or how do they keep updated?
Well, this interview right here is a great start for it. But no, we're actually going to be pushing out a lot of it over the month of October. So I knew this interview was coming up, so I thought this is a great opportunity to kind of time things really well with that. So we're going to be actually launching it all over the next 2 weeks. We're going to be pushing it out to the community. We're going to do that through our internal modes where it'll be emailed and text blasted. It's going to go on our website. It's going to go on our social media. We tried to make it interactive as well. You can use a QR code to scan it. We have posters in the schools. We have hard copies in the schools. The actual PDF will be emailed out to everyone. And we're going to talk about it every single year. So in my newsletters, I'm going to talk about what is the strategic plan? What are we working toward? There's going to be continual reporting out on that. We will report at board meetings on a regular basis. So really it's about trying to get as much of it out to the community as possible, because really this is their plan. This is the work of our entire community, and they should know what's going on and how are we doing along the way.
So parents will see the plan. They'll be able to see what's in it and hear about it. If they have questions, how's the best way to ask?
Yep. So I always say tailor to the right person. And so if you have questions about something within the classroom related to it, you definitely want to start with your classroom teacher or the teacher associated with whatever course it might be. Beyond that, if you're looking for more information from kind of the larger scale, you can certainly reach out to our two principals. You could reach out to our assistant superintendent, or certainly myself. We're all happy to engage in this conversation. We want people to ask us questions, and I'm sure we're going to learn a lot over the next 5 years. And then as we engage in future planning, we can take what we have learned, and even make it better for the future.
When you were drafting the plan, did you run into any roadblocks, or did it all kind of just come through the creative process with you and everyone else that was involved?
I wouldn't say we ran into really any roadblocks. There was a huge amount of planning and commitment that went in from the leadership team. So that consisted of myself, Jessica Doctour, who's the assistant superintendent at Cugana-Dagabosis, and my assistant superintendent, Melinda Irve. The three of us would spend hours each week going over what's coming up, what are we trying to accomplish, how are we going to plan for it, how are we going to communicate. So I think with a lot of that intentional planning, we were able to address a lot of anticipated speed bumps. And certainly as things came up, we told the group, it's okay. When we kind of get stuck on something, we're going to pause. We'll go back. We'll try to work through what we need to do on our end and bring it back to the group. And so there was a lot of that back and forth. So no, it went very smoothly. A lot of great dialogue. Definitely there were some disagreements at the table, but it was done respectfully. And in the end, we all could support the words that went on the paper.
Obviously, we're at the beginning stages of your 5-year plan. When we get to the end, what do you hope has been accomplished by it?
Well, what I envision when I walk the halls in 5 years from now, when I'm engaging with the community, when I'm talking with students, what I hope I see is that, one, our graduation rate remains strong and we're at 100% graduation rate, that our students are going off for college, career, or whatever courses they want to do next, or whatever careers they want to go into, with 100% going to the pathways they choose. What I hope to see in the schools is that we've created a culture where all truly means all. And so we're collectively responsible for each and every student. Our staff is fully there and invested in supporting one another. They are absolutely one of the best staffs I've ever had the pleasure of working with. And all this is going to do is just take that and take us really to the next level so that they have the resources they need when students are struggling. Also, when I'm walking the halls 5 years from now, hopefully you're going to see a much stronger facility. We're going to see some really modernizing of some of our academic learning environments, and the grounds and everything else are going to see some serious upgrades over the next couple of years as well. So, those are some of the things I hope to see, and we're already on track. We've already made some gains in a few areas in just a few short months here.
No, we've gone into a lot of the plan. Is there anything I'm missing, anything important that you want people to know about your 5-year plan?
I would say that when you've got time to look at it, really take a look at really the three components of what is our mission, what are our foundational values. We created collective commitments around what are we committed to as a district. And I would say most importantly is our vision. That's our vision for the future, to be a premier and innovative school district. And ultimately it comes down to our brand, and really it's about inspiring excellence and ensuring success. And those words were very carefully chosen by the committee. So we want to inspire excellence. And we chose the word inspire because our job is really to get our students motivated and our staff motivated. Excellence means anything that they want to do. We didn't want to limit it to just academics. We know there's so much more to the whole student, is more than just that. And the second part of that is ensuring success. We chose the word ensure because that holds us accountable, that we are accountable to ensure every single student is successful in whatever pathway they choose.
All right, final thought. What makes Weedsport School District so successful? What's the greatest strength?
Yeah, so I have to say, hands down, it comes down to two components. The community is like no other community I've ever been a part of, in that it is actively involved in the school. They take pride in their school. They are true Wolverines, and they come to events. They are actively engaged in parent-teacher conferences and open house and being on campus. They want to see what's best for students. And really, what I think says it the best is when we were in the planning phase with the committee, and continually the work and conversations didn't always just come back to academics or just to social emotional. It came back to character. Many times that word character came out in the process. And so you'll see that woven into this plan, the importance from the community's perspective of not only are we educating students, we're educating them around good character and good morals and good values so that they are ready for success in life. So that's the one piece, is the community. And the other piece I have to say is absolutely our staff. Our staff is one of the most dedicated staff I've ever worked with. They truly care about kids. You see them in the hallways greeting kids by name every single day. They know every single student in the school. Being a small school, we are collectively responsible. So our staff and our Board of Education, they've been part of the board for many years. In fact, one of our board members has been there over 30 years now. And they are truly the compass for the district, the leadership team, and they really are invested in the school district.
All right, Greg Stone, Weedsport Superintendent, thank you very much for joining us today and talking about the district's 5-year plan.
All right, thank you.
And remember, if something's happening in your school district you want us to talk about, you can email me anytime, coolschools@localsyr.com.